Hey, welcome back to Christmas with Karl. This is episode 19. We're on page 195. In the last video, we were talking about page 195, of Church Dogmatics, Volume 1, Book 2, a chapter, The Miracle of Christmas, under the heading of the Mystery of Revelation. So there you go. Page 195. And we are talking about the virgin birth. We're about to move to being conceived of the Spirit, but right now we're focusing on the virginity of Mary. The past couple of videos have been dedicated to talking about the absence of a male and the importance of that in the Christmas story. This video, we're going to be focusing on Mary's role as a virgin and positive things that we could say about that. They don't have to do with the idea that sex is dirty or anything like that. Okay, so he says, there is the further question, whether in contrast to the significant appropriateness of the male to be the father of Emmanuel, or inappropriateness of the male to be the father of Emmanuel, something positive should be said about a corresponding significant appropriateness in the female to be his mother. So if the absence of the father is so important, is there some importance in the woman being present within the story? Again, he says, the answer which Mary gives the angel in Luke 1:38 is not nature, but grace. That is, it comes from the Holy Spirit. It's not something that she would have done on her own, apart from divine revelation. And so we are thus brought back to what we said about the positive significance of the born of Mary when we began elucidating this formula that both God and man are really involved in the mystery to which the miracle of Christmas points us. It's God on the one hand, and then it's a man it's a woman, a human who's inspired by grace to give this blessed yes. That's what's involved in bringing about this mystery. But it's also God and man together in the sense that Jesus is both God and man, divine and flesh. And through this new beginning, this breaking through into a new creation takes place. He says, by now, it should have become somewhat more apparent why it is the female and not the male that is singled out as the human being actually involved here. But we must take care, he says, to avoid traces of Roman Catholic Mariology, and must not regard the human creatureliness represented by the Virgin as in principle an openness for the work of God, which still belongs to man in spite of the fall. That is, this is, again, not coming from man at all in the sense of his own fallen nature. All right. And because he says, according to Ephesians 2:3, men are by nature the children of wrath. It is not at all as if somewhere behind wicked human history there is still hidden a good human being worthy of communion with the divine being as such. The fall is the fall of the whole man. In other words, man is what he does when he is disobedient to God. There is no plane upon which the meeting between God and man can be possible or real except in virtue of the mystery of divine mercy. Now again, I'm not a Reformed theologian. I'm not a Reformed guy, and so I don't see eye to eye with a lot of the original sin stuff. But I get his point here, right? This is not about man. This is not about what man can do. This is not about what man can will. This is not about what man can bring about. This is totally from God, and it's only this meeting of God with humanity through divine grace and mercy that this mystery can be brought about. All right. So he moving to the end of the section, he says, "Of a virgin then simply means." Sorry, hang on a second. I've got to recalibrate here for a second. All right. He's arguing against this idea that I'm about to read. Of a virgin then simply means that Jesus had a religious mother and that he was himself a religious child from the very first. In opposition to this view, the early Protestant dogmaticians were rightly at one in declaring that no kind of eminent aptitude for God's work, whether in Mary in particular or in human nature in general, can be expressed by the of a virgin. So some argued that the expression, I should have set this up better, of a virgin meant that Mary was just more religious than everybody else, and that Jesus was more religious and had a religious upbringing, since he was a child. He's like, no, this is not what it means. It means of a virgin. It means that she has no capability within herself at all to bring about this miracle within humanity. This is something that comes from God. The virginity of Mary doesn't exclude her from being a sinner, and this is not something that's come about by merit, but it's coming about by grace. That's a few of the comments that he puts that I've had to kind of take time to translate there, using, of course, online, right? Okay, he goes on and he says, as it will be shown subsequently, it is only on the ground of an act of divine justification and sanctification that human nature at this very point, too, becomes a partaker of the divine nature. And Karl Barth's argument, as we talked about before, is that mankind is totally unable to save himself, and so that everything must be an act of grace through the Holy Spirit and transforming the person, opening them up to the receptivity of the divine gift. Okay? Now, it is not then it as if at this point a door is opened which can lead to Mariology, and thus to a doctrine of the goodness of the creature and its capacity for God, to a doctrine of the independent holiness of the church. This only can and must be said here, in the form of this act of divine justification and sanctification. And so, in the mystery of the divine mercy, human nature is made worthy to be a partaker of the divine nature by grace and by a miracle of grace. That is, it's not worthy in and of itself, it is made worthy. It's not holy within and of itself, it's made holy. It's not able to justify himself, it is made justified. He says, this is all done apart from sinful human history and in spite of the corruption proper to human nature itself. So it's definitely an act of divine grace. You look at human history, you see corruption, you see evil, you see war, you see violence, you see bloodshed, and despite all of that corruption, God steps into human history, taking on flesh, and transforms humanity from inside out. He says, in token of that, the woman is adopted apart from the male and her relation to him, and in spite of the sin of which she is guilty along with him, to be conceiver of the eternal God himself on earth, to be a Theotokos, to be the mother of God. That is the positive thing which has to be said about her significant appropriateness in this matter, and for that reason too, born of a virgin. So this is I just love this stuff. This is so exciting to me. Just some of this, the language of God's mercy, the language of God's free, exercising His will and bringing about our salvation and bringing about this plan of redemption through Jesus. It's just such a beautiful chapter with so much depth. I have a few things written apart from here. This is all done apart from male preeminence. It is despite Mary's ability to conceive alone, and it's all grace. That's the point, is that this whole story is a story of grace. Well, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages left to go, which means 7 days left until Christmas. It's pretty cool. Have a good day. God bless.